Hey, okay, so the purpose of my application is to take some data from, data from the melody from pure data, and use this melody, these notes that the melody produces, in a graphical form. So in my case, rectangles of different heights and different colors are being drawn on a screen as the melody is being played out. So with this data, I'm able to draw rectangles of different heights based on the value that is coming in. I also use some randomness on top of that to make different heights to make it more difficult effect, and the colors being randomly generated. So the sounds that are being generated, mostly it's nearly like a randomly generated xylophone. So every time you run an application, you get a different xylophone, basically. So each note you are playing, it creates the sound effect every time you click on one of the. It's kind of like a xylophone, and it plays the sound. So the main interaction is you click on one of these columns after the data has been there from pure data, and it's been displayed. So the application takes the first 9 notes and passes it into pure data to create the sound. So that's the interaction. It just plays the xylophone sound once you've been clicked on. Let's have a look at the code. So in the code, there's some imports. A rectangle list, so I just keep track of all the rectangles. A release list is mostly used to set the color of the rectangle per column, but I will explain how that works later. Just some variables being stored, and this is again to remember what color it was, so we can set all of the colors in this column. So this is the connection between pure data and processing, and the other way around. So my main action is when the mouse is pressed. So when the mouse is pressed, I'm able to detect which column it's being pressed on, and it's just to check if it's greater than 10 or 9, then it's still 9 because it's detected as 10 out here. So once the button is mouse left click, I look through all of the columns, or all of the rectangles within this column. So I pass in the column that I clicked on, and I look at all the columns, and I find that all the rectangles, I take their color temporarily, so it's most likely the first one that gets, or the last one that gets stored. And I pass this value in bars. So there's usually 15 rectangles per column, but I only take the first 9, and this just values are being inputted, and the count just keeps track. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and I take the height and I divide by 12 and add 47, so it keeps it around the MIDI note values. This is just count the rectangles. I set them to white, so whenever it's clicked on, it gets to white until it's been released. It is displayed, and also I add the rectangle to the release list, so whenever the mouse is released, the color has been set back to the required color. Right clicking just clears the whole, and you can start again. This is just to use to update the rectangle. So I'm gonna just quickly go down and speak about my rectangle object. So in my rectangle object, you got some initialized variables for this rectangle, x and y, width and height and colors. In the constructor, most of these values are overwritten and the colors of the rectangle are being generated randomly as the rectangle is created, and then the rectangle has been drawn. So upon releasing the rectangle just gets stored to the value that is temp1, temp2, which is being stored up here. The list is then cleared. So, and then the main interaction of receiving values from pure data to processing. So I adjusted CA1 to take values from my melody, put it into an send a note value, and it's been received in here, and based on that I take the value and I multiply it by some random number between 1 and 8. This is just to give the effect of different heights in the column, because if the values are around 67 to 74, and they were just too close and wasn't displaying as nice visuals, so I added some randomness to create different heights whenever it's being generated. And I add the rectangle to the list, and every time a rectangle is generated, so it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it actually starts again, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and it keeps going like that until the application's been stopped. Okay, so in order to get the application running, you have to have star file running. In star file, make sure that you're connected to localhost. Run CA2 processing file and CA2 pure data file, so you're able to hear the outcome. Once you start the file, and make sure this is now running. So once you run, you get a black screen. You come to your star file. You can click either 0 or 1. I increased the rhythm so it does it much faster in this case. And once you start, you let all the values come in and do this colorful effect of rectangles. So rectangles are being generated in each column, random heights and different colors. Okay, so once that's finished, you can close star file, or don't have to, but you're now presented with this graphical interface, and the user is now able to just click on one of the colors or one of the columns, and once they click on them, the values are being sent into here and play different notes. It sounds like a xylophone. So the reason I did this is because I wanted to take some random melody, some random notes that just come in, get graphically displayed to make a cool effect, to, different heights, different colors, flashy looking, different paces, and once that's done, I want to use this graphical interface and let the user have some interaction with it. So in my case, I wanted to, to make it kind of like an instrument. So in this case, I ended up making it sound like a xylophone, and users now able to, play these random notes. It's not really a precise instrument, but it still plays these notes, and user has interaction with them. So with my choice, the user is able to run the application, different sets of data, different sets of values, and every time they run it, they get different colors and they get different sound effects. So I think it enhances their perception in terms of, you get different sound effects every time you run the program, so you're able to hear something new. Maybe one day after running it, you encounter some nice sound effect that you like.